you are capable of far more than you think. You are so much more capable, and you can run further and lift heavier things than you ever could imagine if you've got God on your side.
Hey guys, welcome back to our second episode of Things I Wish I Knew. I'm John and this is Jen, and we have a special guest, Zac from NET Ministries. He served 1 year over at Sydney as a NET Ministry. That's where he met myself, and he did great and amazing work, and he's gone on to work full-time in NET Ministries doing amazing work there. And he's also a married man. And yeah, it's really awesome to have you here, Zac, and we seriously can't wait to delve into this topic. So our topic for today is balance before breakdown. And that's a really huge topic, especially going through this whole COVID pandemic and this lockdown stuff. Stress, anxiety is at all new time highs, especially mental health, and this idea of burnout, breakdown, especially when you're serving in the church. It's not really talked about. So yeah, Zac, what are you thinking about this topic, balance before breakdown? What do you get from it?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here. And I hope some of the people that are watching, maybe I met on my year in Sydney. So hello, reach out if you haven't reached out in a while. It'd be great to touch base. But balance before breakdown, I think we've all definitely experienced it. I know that I have. And the burnout is real, and it's interesting because you're just serving your heart out. You guys spoke about the difference last week between doing God's will and doing God's work. And when you're constantly working and trying to do his will, it kind of is a little bit exhausting at times. And the interesting thing though is that I feel like when you're about to experience breakdown, the answer is not to do less, it's actually to do more, but just the good stuff.
Yeah.
I think our temptation is to turn to like really cheap fixes like sugar and cheap carbs. Like you've done Exodus, John. I know you know we've had this episode on Another Slice of Pizza where we talked about asceticism, or social media or buying things. And at the end of the day, at least for me, I don't know if it does for anyone else, but I actually feel emptier afterwards, and it actually makes me feel worse. And so whilst it's tempting to just drop the prayer, drop the ministry, drop the social life and just bum around at home, maybe that fills up your buckets for you, but I know for me anyway, it actually makes me feel worse. But I think it's not necessarily doing less, but it's just doing more of the good stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I totally agree. Like I can't remember the amount of times that like my guilty pleasure is like getting a bucket of KFC. just thinking out, right? Like it
makes you feel sick.
Yeah, it is the worst thing. Like it makes me feel absolutely trash. And kind of you hit the nail on the head, Zac, when you said, it's not about doing less, right? Sometimes we have the kind of temptation to go back to comfortability. Like we think that being comfortable is about doing less, right? And sometimes we fall into that pitfall of really relying on these negative things. And what you said really reminded me of the amount of times that I've served and I felt like a burnout's coming, and I think a bucket of chicken will save me, right? At the end of the day, it just puts me into a pit trap, and it kind of does the opposite of balance. It kind of imbalances you because you're focused so inwardly, right? You're focused so much on yourself that you kind of ignore all these external things that are trying to help you. Well, what do you think, Jen?
I think you're both bang on the money with that, and how it's so easy when you feel like you're about to crack, like you're at that point where you're like it's about to fall apart, you lose all the good stuff. And I really like what you said, Zac, about dropping prayer and dropping, the family and the friends and all those sort of things, because you feel like you need to be by yourself. And like you said, Zac, maybe that's what you need, but it's so easy to feel like you just need to drop everything when we actually need to focus on what is the good stuff and what is the sort of stuff that's going to fill our cup. Because there's that saying, and we all know it because, such a ministry saying, but you can't give from an empty cup. And unfortunately, sugar, KFC, all these things, which are those sort of quick fixes, they don't fill our cup in a way that is going to sustain us for longer. So I guess it kind of raises this question of what is the good stuff? What is the stuff that we really need to fill our cup with? What do you guys think?
That's a great question. Every year at Net Training, we have a guy speak to us named John Brady, and he speaks about these like 4 buckets we have. So we've got like our mental bucket, our spiritual bucket, our emotional bucket, and our physical bucket. And he often says a lot of the time they impact each other. You know, if your mental bucket is down, your spiritual bucket, emotional, physical, is going to be down as well. If your physical bucket is down, all of the other ones are going to be down as well. So I think there's lots of different things, and for everyone it's going to be a little bit different as to what brings them the most life. But I know for me, like my physical bucket definitely affects the rest of them. If I'm not getting, you know, enough sleep, or if I'm not exercising, it like is actually going to really affect everything else, my mental life, my spiritual life, my relationships, you know, my emotions. And so it's interesting because it seems counterintuitive at the time. You're like, I'm really tired. I do not want to go for a run right now. But if I go for a run, I'm going to have more energy. Or it's like, I have so much to do right now. And it's like, but I can't, I'm so tired, so I can't go to sleep. It's like, no, go to sleep. Like have the full night's sleep and pick up where you were tomorrow morning. So you actually, what takes you 10 minutes to do with, you know, a full physical bucket, you know, Wisby, what took you 2 hours to do with an empty physical bucket, you know?
I relate to that bucket thing so much. Like that is literally, Zac, that is like the story of my life. And I always say to people, and it's interesting because I've always said three. Like the three pillars is the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And I kind of think of these three as they work in tandem with each other, right? Like you're like having a balance before breakdown means making sure that you're kind of being excellent in your physicality, your mentality, your spirituality. Because I remember, especially when I go into the beginning years of my ministry, just serving, you know, just always wanting to serve like 24/7 of the time. And what would happen is I abandoned the prayer. I abandoned the kind of mental reflection on myself, the journaling. I abandoned the kind of, I'm not going to exercise because that's too much time. I'm going to instead, you know, go out to a parish and serve and talk to someone. And I find it often at times, like if one pillar is doing excellent and the others kind of lackluster, it will eventually bring that really main pillar that you're focusing on down as well. Like they're all kind of like a structure. They're all a structure or like pillars holding up yourself. And yeah, like I just feel at the end of the day, I always love this line, like in order to balance well, sometimes I know you mentioned before in the beginning, you know, sometimes it's about saying yes, right, rather than saying no to all these things. But I also would put a little spin on it and say sometimes you got to say no to someone or to something so that you can give God a greater yes. And you know that takes a lot of maturity to do that, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And even, you know, when you know you've got a big weekend of ministry, or you've got, you know, a big camp coming up, or you've got, you know, if you're studying or you've got work as well and you're trying to balance it all out, you have to be able to say the no to that birthday party or going out with friends, or, you know, saying, like what you said, John, saying no to a small thing so that you can serve on a bigger and better scale almost and do more good. And I really liked what you were saying about the pillars as well, and how when we lack in one, we lack in another. And I think it's because often we think that health or that, you know, wellness is just one thing, like it's just about being fit, it's just about, you know, eating the right foods. But in reality, health is wellness and it's wholeness as well. And we're a whole person. We're not just physical, we're not just spiritual. We need to have both almost up to scratch so that we can achieve and kind of, achieve the best of our abilities. So
that's what it means to be holy, you know, to be whole.
Absolutely.
In every area, not just one and sacrifice of another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen. I think literally that is the bread and butter of this whole talk, right? Like this whole conversation, it's like you gotta strive to be whole, and the moment you burn out is when you kind of focus on one part of your whole
expense of another.
At the expense of another. And it kind of like I mean, I'm not a fitness expert, right? But it's kind of like I mean, this is a really random analogy, but it's like when you're building muscle, right? Like if you don't constantly wear and tear, the muscle's not going to grow, right? Like it's going to eventually deteriorate. And when you think of like the pillars, like if you have a spiritual muscle, a mental muscle, a physical muscle, the moment you kind of give up and just focus on one, you might have like big arms, right? You might have chicken legs, you know? You might have big arms of spirituality, but chicken legs of mentality, you know? Like, a big reality.
But I love that like wear and tear of muscles that you need as well. Like you almost need to have a little bit of pain or a little bit of discomfort to be able to grow and to be able to develop and to be able to, you know, become stronger.
And I think the one thing I wanted to say to everyone on this is that like you are capable of far more than you think. You are so much more capable, and you can run further and lift heavier things than you ever could imagine if you've got God on your side. Like you have no idea what you're capable of. And the thing is, like, if you do try to do all these things in your own strength, you are going to burn out. You're going to start to say things like, oh, I'm so busy, or I'm so tired, or I'm, you know, just exhausted from all the ministry. But if you're saying, I get to work in the vineyard of the Lord, and I've been picked. The gospel yesterday I was struck by, and when he goes to the marketplace to pick the workers for the vineyard, it says, I was thinking about what would I be going to the marketplace looking like? I'd be looking for the people who are keen to work, that have their signs like, I you know, hire me for this much, this is my experience, and the people that are like actually making an effort. And so when he makes a deal with them, he says, he made a deal for 1 denarius with each of the workers. But then every other time he goes back to the marketplace to find people to work in the vineyard, he says that there were people standing idle, not workers. And whilst at the end of the day, they got paid so much more, I can't imagine how awesome it's going to be when I get to the kingdom and God says, Zac, my worker, John, my worker, Jen, my worker. These people were not people that stood by idle, but they were people that, you know, they put their hand up and said, yes, Lord, I will go, send me. And they didn't try to do it in their own strength. You know, they said, Lord, I'm here to do your work. Give me the tools I need, give me the strength I need to do it. And with him on our side, like, we're just capable of so many incredible things. Absolutely. And it's like that verse that I can do all things through God, he gives me strength. And we know the craziest yeses are the most incredible yeses, because God gives us exactly what we need to be able to fulfill the task. And even though we might not be able to see exactly what it is that we need to do, or we might not have, you know, the tools or whatever it might be, we just got to have that eager heart. And I love that, you know, standing there with our signs like, yes, I can do it, you know, I'm happy to do it, Lord, let me. Because words are so powerful. Like if you are saying, I'm tired and I'm exhausted, you're going to feel tired and exhausted. Like, but if you are constantly speaking like, I can do this, I've got what it takes. And like, you know, I love that Jesus was even reminded of this just before he started his public ministry. The Father said to him, this is my Son, the beloved, in whom I'm well pleased. You know, we need these words of encouragement spoken over us before we can do anything. So speak life. Don't speak about all the things that suck. Otherwise,
Amen.
Feel pretty sucky.
It's so good, Zac. And it was really awesome having this chance to really talk about this kind of topic, because it's just so important during this time of lockdown. You know, where we've been locked down here in Sydney for a good old chunk of time, and I think Brisbane, is going not as bad, eh? like
no, we're okay. I'm not working from home today, which is nice.
And so thank you so much for the words. And I think at the end of the day, with this whole balance before breakdown, for all the young kind of the ones that are just starting out in ministry, hopefully the things that Zac really touched upon, the whole mindset, I think is really important. You know, the mindset of life, and not necessarily the mindset of death, is so important for us when we're thinking about balance before breakdown. And so for all those that listen, hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. Zac, do you want to finish off with any parting words or any last comments?
No, just be grateful to be a worker, and remind yourself that you have what it takes to do this. if anyone is keen for more and you're actually, I feel like I'm in that boat. I feel like I'm a worker and I want to do some work and I've got more to give. Every year we look for 20 to 40 missionaries to serve with NET and spread the good news to young people. And it's a sacrifice. You've got to give up some stuff. But it's one of the most incredible years I've ever had the privilege of meeting John and many of you other youth ministers down there in Sydney. It's an incredible year. And if you want to hear, I guess, John on my show, Another Slice of Pizza, just chuck in Spotify, Another Slice of Pizza, and there's some nuggets there about asceticism, which is heaps of fun.
Awesome. Now, thanks, Zac, and God bless your work and NET Ministries and the great things that you guys are doing over there.
And if you don't want to serve, please pray for us. It's hard to find missionaries in a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Praise God. Okay, see you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye.